The Evans family's annual dinner at Lusk was less a gathering and more a performance of polished judgment. Crystal glasses chimed as my sister, Victoria, basked in her spotlight. Her diamond bracelet flashed like a warning signal every time she waved her hand for emphasis. Sterling Corp stock climbed another 20% after my proposal, she announced to our parents. The board practically begged me to take over as CFO. Then came the inevitable turn of her head and the condescending smile she'd perfected since childhood. And you, Emma, still answering phones at that tiny investment firm? I sipped my water, ignoring the synchronized look of disappointment Mom and Dad exchanged. My simple black blazer, easily the least expensive outfit at the table, was intentional. I'm actually an executive assistant now, I replied, keeping my tone mild. Victoria laughed loud enough to draw attention from the neighboring tables. So still delivering coffee, with your economics degree? Remember when we both interned at Sterling? I became CEO. And you? She gestured lazily at my outfit as if that finished the sentence. Victoria is doing remarkable things, Dad said proudly. Sterling is expanding into Asian markets under her leadership. My phone buzzed under the table. A quick glance, acquisition complete, press release at 8 p.m. Emma, put that away, Mom scolded. Just because you're a secretary doesn't mean you're indispensable at dinner. Of course, I said softly. 7:55 p.m. Victoria reached out as if bestowing charity. I could talk to someone at Sterling, maybe find you something more aspirational than front desk duties. That's kind of you, I said. How are Sterling's quarterly numbers? Spectacular, she gloated. We're about to announce our best quarter yet. The CEO's thrilled with me. Financial Monthly is putting her in their Rising Stars under 40 issue. Dad added, when's the last time you opened a financial journal, Emma? This morning. I checked the time again, 7:58 p.m. Victoria smirked. Your boss's calendar doesn't count. I was reviewing acquisition reports, I said. She laughed outright. What do you know about acquisitions? Do they let you photocopy the important documents? My phone buzzed again. Wall Street Journal, posting now. Actually, I said, setting down my glass, I know quite a bit, especially about the one that closed 20 seconds ago. Mom groaned. Emma, don't make things up just to keep up with your sister. I reached into my briefcase as Victoria's phone chimed. She glanced down, and froze. The hand holding her phone trembled. No, that has to be wrong. Dad checked his device. What is it? The Wall Street Journal, Victoria whispered. It says Atlantic Global just acquired Sterling Corporation, but there's no way we would have known. Check the CEO, I suggested, nudging the manila envelope across the table. Victoria's eyes widened as she read aloud. Atlantic Global CEO Emma Evans, 32, becomes the youngest female banking chief to complete a major acquisition. Her hands slammed the table, rattling the crystalware. You're my new boss? I opened the envelope calmly. Actually, your former boss. Your termination papers are inside, effective immediately. A hush swallowed the table. Only the faint sound of silverware clinking across the restaurant dared to continue. Victoria's complexion shifted from chalk white to angry crimson as she scrolled through the headlines. Atlantic Global, Dad murmured, adjusting his glasses with disbelief as he read on. Private banking acquisition of the year, $8.2 billion, led by CEO Emma Evans. Dad's head jerked up like someone had snapped their fingers. I adjusted my black blazer, Armani, though no one at this table had ever bothered to notice. Remember when Victoria became CFO at Sterling? That same month, I joined Atlantic Global's board. I took over as CEO last year. Mom blinked, speechless for the first time all evening. Her wine glass hovered midair. But, you're a secretary. No, I said calmly. I was embedded. The best way to evaluate a company is from the inside. I turned to Victoria. Your staff gets very talkative around the coffee girl, especially when they're venting about inflated earnings and creative accounting. Victoria's fingers whitened around her phone. You spied on us? I conducted due diligence, I said. Those Asian market expansions you love bragging about, the math never balanced. Neither did your last 3 quarters. I built that financial division from smoke and mirrors. I cut in, sliding a smaller stack of documents onto the table. Should we start with the offshore accounts, or the adjusted reports that always aligned with your bonus targets? Dad reached for the pages, but I pulled them back. These are already with the SEC. The SEC? Mom gasped, going pale. Relax, I said, checking my watch. The press release only mentions the acquisition. The investigation will stay quiet, for now. Victoria lurched to her feet so fast her chair screeched. You can't do this to me, I'm your sister. Sit down, I said softly, you're drawing attention. A scene? You just obliterated my career. You obliterated your career, I corrected. I'm just collecting the pieces, though I'll admit, buying your company was satisfying. Dad tried to summon his usual authority. Emma, surely there's a way to. The deal is closed, I said, unmoved. Sterling Corp is now a division of Atlantic Global, and Victoria's accounting strategies are with our forensic team. My phone buzzed. A message from my actual assistant, board meeting in 1 hour. Victoria collapsed back into her chair, mascara threatening to smear. How long? She whispered. How long have you been planning this? I remembered every dinner, every smug remark, the Christmas party where she offered me an entry-level spot as a joke, the constant reminders that she was the successful sister. 5 years ago, I said, you told the whole family I was wasting my degree as a bank teller. That same week, I closed my first billion-dollar acquisition. Mom's grip failed and her wineglass tipped, red spreading across the white tablecloth like a wound. All this time, you were running a bank? The third largest private banking group in the country, I said. After tonight's acquisition, we'll move to second. The maitre d' hurried over, eyeing the ruined linens. I passed him my black card, the one Victoria once mocked as a corporate hand-me-down. Dinner's on me, I said as I stood. Consider it a severance gesture. 3 days later, I stood in my corner office on the 60th floor of Atlantic Global Tower, Manhattan glittering below. The Wall Street Journal lay open on my desk. Banking's silent queen, how Emma Evans built an empire in plain sight. A knock at the door. Miss Evans, your sister is here. Victoria walked in, a stripped-down version of herself, no designer suit, no diamonds, no facade. Security let me up, she said quietly, not that my credentials mean anything now. I motioned to the leather chairs. The forensic audit is finished. She swallowed, and? We found everything, I said, setting a file on the desk. Inside, falsified earnings, offshore transfers, kickbacks disguised as consulting fees. I closed it gently. The SEC is very interested. Victoria's shoulders sagged. Are you pressing charges? That depends, I said, settling into my chair. I'm willing to handle this internally, if you cooperate fully with our investigation and return the bonuses you took. You're protecting me? Her voice broke with disbelief. Why? I studied her, because watching you implode wouldn't be nearly as satisfying. Living with the knowledge that you underestimated me, that's far more permanent. My phone buzzed. Asian markets were opening. She glanced at the alert and gave a hollow laugh. All those years I bragged about Sterling going international, she said. Meanwhile, you were actually running a global banking empire. She gestured around the office. How did we never notice? You never looked, I replied. You were too busy telling everyone who I wasn't to imagine who I could be. She swallowed. Mom and Dad haven't stopped crying. Dad's friends keep asking about the billionaire daughter they somehow missed. Karma has range, I said lightly, crossing to the bar cart to pour 2 glasses of water. Want to know when I decided to buy Sterling? She accepted the glass silently. Last Christmas, I said, when you celebrated your CFO promotion by gifting me that book, moving up from the reception desk. A flash of humiliation crossed her face. I was in the middle of negotiating the Swiss global merger that week. I added, you remember, I told you I had a staff meeting. You left early, she whispered. You said you had emails to answer. Board meeting in Geneva. Closed the deal at midnight and flew back in time for dinner. You spent the meal explaining EBITDA to me like I'd never heard the word. A tear slid down her face. I was awful to you. You were, I said plainly, and now you have a choice. Sign the cooperation agreement, return the money, and rebuild your life, or deal with the SEC by yourself. I slid the document across the desk. She stared at it. What happens after I sign? You'll be barred from executive roles for 5 years, I said, but I've arranged you a position at our Singapore office, mid-level, a chance to do things right this time. Her voice trembled. Why help me at all? I turned to the window, Manhattan glowing in the reflection, because real power isn't about destruction, it's about having the power to ruin someone, and choosing not to. My phone buzzed again. Board meeting in an hour. Victoria stood, the signed agreement in her hand. I'll never underestimate you again. No, I said, you won't. As she left, I straightened my blazer, the same one they'd written off as discount. My assistant stepped in with the morning brief. The sterling transition is ahead of schedule, she said, and the family accounts, you still want them moved to our premium tier? Yes, I said, no fees. She blinked. That's generous. Not generosity, I corrected, lifting today's Wall Street Journal featuring my profile. Leverage. Respect is a better investment than revenge. Through the glass walls, I watched Victoria walk toward the elevators, shoulders bent. Some victories aren't about breaking your enemies, it's about climbing so far above them they have no choice but to look up. Sunlight hit my nameplate. Emma Evans, CEO, Atlantic Global Banking. Beside it sat the only personal item in my office, a worn business card. Emma Evans, reception desk. A reminder that every empire starts somewhere, and that the best revenge is building one high enough to be seen from the ground they thought you'd never leave.